You've reached the Monetization Matrix with me, your host, Kristian Hansen, your expert with insights into payment and subscription strategies, where I discuss how to help you monetize your products and services for growth. Hello, and welcome to the Monetization Matrix, where today I am going to discuss what I think is kind of a fun topic: how to become a payments or subscriptions product manager. So let's start out. What is a payment and or subscription product manager? What is a monetization product manager? What do we do? How do you get into a role like this? Why is it important? So let's start there. First of all, a product manager, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. I don't know what the technical terminology would be here or stats to back up any of the following statements, just my personal thoughts here. But a product person is the glue. That's what I like to tell people. I am the glue. You have business concepts, ideas, you have customers, you have engineering, you have design, you have legal. There's a lot of different teams involved at a company. And product is responsible for pushing forward concepts, ideas, features, things that customers want and or need, and driving business outcomes so that everyone can get paid. So a payments and or subscription product manager is a person who specifically focuses on the monetization efforts of the business. Whereas you may have some folks, although tangentially involved with monetization, you could say someone working on landing pages is worried about monetization because, of course, they want people to enroll. They want people to be onboarded. But where I kind of draw the difference would be that I am directly involved in the making of the money. I am directly involved in the taking or the disbursement of money. I am directly involved in thinking through what our subscription tiers plans may be, as well as the implementation of them, depending on where it is that you might be having subscriptions taking place. So this will depend on the size of your business, what you're focused on, who your customers are, what the trajectory of your business is, where people are located. But in essence, I'm the guy who you call when you want to supercharge your payments and or subscriptions and take your monetization strategy to the next level. But that's kind of a wishy-washy type of answer. Another one, I'm just going to go into my notes and steal is a terrible word, not steal. I will give attribution. I will say I went on to the product school website where I had Googled how to become a product manager, because I need to Google these things because I don't always remember how you become one. At least someone's written a nice article about how you become one. And I will give my own spin on it. And by the way, I did teach a semester course at the product school back about 7-8 years ago, seven-ish years ago. So I have no affiliation with them whatsoever at this point, but I did work with them at one point, teaching product management. Here's what they say. The key responsibilities of a product manager are market research and analysis, which to me gives the concept really around being the eyes and ears of the business and understanding your customers and their needs. Vision and strategy is number 2. So people are going to look at you, especially if you're the payments or subscriptions monetization person, and be asking you, what is our strategy? How will we make more money? How will we make our customers happier? And how will we do this in the best possible fashion for the company. Number 3, roadmap development and execution. Well, I added the execution. They just said roadmap development on their website. But as part of the vision, you need to have a roadmap. It's great to have a vision, which could be a 30,000, 50,000, 100,000 foot view of this is where we are going. We will get subscribers. We will charge them money. They won't leave. But that is a vision. We will have the best customer experience. People will come to us for X, Y, Z. That's vision. Vision is great. But roadmap is more execution. Okay, so what is it that we want to build out as the company vision? Well, in order to get there, if you want to become the premier company in your space, and perhaps as part of your vision, you use the word globally, then you need to have a roadmap that spells out exactly how you will get from A to B. So if you have as part of your vision that you will be global, do you have translation services, translations of your website in your roadmap? Because that just won't happen unless you spell it out and you get buy-in, which I think leads to number 4 on the key responsibilities list of what a product manager does, which is cross-functional leadership and stakeholder management. In order to get your roadmap done, you will need to work with other teams. You will need to be, as I mentioned earlier, the glue. If you are doing something in the payment space, you will need to get sign off from legal, most likely. You will need to get help from your engineers. You may need help from DevOps. You may need help from fraud or security, marketing, design. There are a number of teams you will need to work with cross-functionally and across various levels of your leaders at your company in order to get anything done. Number 5, user experience and feedback. As you're thinking about what your vision is for payments and or subscriptions, and you're trying to align that with your company goals, you will want to incorporate user experience, user feedback. How do you get that? Through surveys, through NPS, through listening to customer sessions, recordings, videos. There's a lot of different ways to get information. You could get user feedback by going into a store if you have a store, if you retail. And you could reach directly out to customers as well. Ask them about their experience. Hey, how was it checking out? Did you have any issues? Why didn't you sign up for something? Why did you want to quit? There's a lot you can learn by listening to your customers and listening to your business partners. Number 6, under key responsibilities of a product manager, performance metrics. Once you have your vision down, you've started building things in your roadmap, you need to be goal-oriented. You can't just put into your roadmap or OKRs or KPIs, I will do a thing, and then who cares if it flops? Well, we did the thing. No, you need to be performance oriented. You need to be thinking through, as you're building out your roadmap, how each aspect of the roadmap will impact various KPIs. If, for instance, you don't have digital wallets, would you do Apple Pay first or would you do Google Pay first? Why would you do Apple Pay over Google Pay? And how do you define success? Is it that instead of 100% of folks using debit and credit cards, now you have 5% of people using Apple Pay or Google Pay digital wallets? Is it that you will have better retention with customers once you enable one of these digital payment methods? These performance metrics are really important because you, as a product manager in the payments or subscription space, need to show your value. You need to show why you needed to dedicate those resources, which are very expensive and costly. Why did you need the engineers and design and legal and marketing? Why did you need all these different teams to work on your project, which you prioritize as the most important? Well, you show that through your metrics, your performance. So that way, as you come up with more ideas by listening to your customers, doing market research, doing analysis, you will be able to sell what you want to build into your leadership, which again is your cross-functional, number 4 on the key responsibility list. In many ways, this becomes, at least from a key responsibilities perspective, the roadmap to success. If you want to be a successful product manager in the payments and or subscriptions monetization space, you will need to nail all of these. Now, people might be listening and say, hey, I don't do user experience, or I'm not much of a market research person. I'm giving generalities here. Everyone will be a little bit different. Each company will be different. What you aspire to be or what you want to accomplish will be different from what I'm detailing. I'll go back a little bit more at this point into how you would get started. Now that I've talked a bit about what your responsibilities are in the product management space, I'll go back to how do you even get into product management? Because in my opinion, you most likely won't start out as a product manager in payments or subscriptions. So let's first say, how do you get into product management? And the first thing I would say is to break into product management, you need to look at your network. Do you know anyone that's in product? If you don't, can you find product management internships? Can you find folks at your company, if you're working already, who are in the product team, product space, and might be able to have you help them out? Find mentors. How do you do that? Well, you could reach out to folks on LinkedIn who identify as product managers of various levels and cold email them. Do a LinkedIn email or figure out their email address. Tell them that you're really genuinely interested in product management and that you'd like some advice. I think it's a double-edged sword. Product managers are usually quite busy, so you must be targeted in who you're messaging, be polite, and be persistent. Another avenue to break into product management is, and I think I already mentioned this, volunteering at work. Finding those projects where people could leverage your skill set so that product decisions can be made. How do you do that? Maybe you reach out to these product manager folks that work at your company or at some other company and you say, hey, I'm great at, I don't know, Python, SQL. I'm great at data analysis. I'm great at design. I'm great at user interviews. Perhaps there's something from your existing set of skills that you can leverage to get you in to one of these areas where the product management team is willing to take you on, potentially not to start out as a product manager, but as a helper. I know this sounds weird, being a helper, but being helpful will be the best way to get your foot in the door. That's just my opinion, because people love helpful people. I love helpful people. If someone were to message me today and say, hey, what's your biggest problem? And by the way, I'm the solution to it. Oh, do you want to iterate quickly? Guess what? I'm an engineer. I have a technical background and I can code front end stuff, or I'm full stack engineer, or I can build out an API for you that resolves one of your problems. And I'm not saying here to do everything for free, but I'm willing to do it for an internship, or I'm willing to do it for a shot, or I'm willing to do it as part of a project I'm working on. There's various ways to leverage your skills and talents to endear yourself to folks that are in product management roles. Another thing I would say if you're trying to break into product management is to focus on skills that are in demand. I was kind of leading to that in my last comments, but are you good at coding? Because I don't know any product managers who have too many engineers. It's always the opposite. I wish I had more engineers. I wish I could leverage someone who was better at analytics, or maybe not better, that had more analytics skills, or could create more dashboards for me, or that could conduct user interviews. So whatever those skills are, I would say up-level yourself so that when you're having these conversations with product teams and with recruiters, you're able to say, yes, I have experience with X and Y, and I did this project. That's another way you can do side projects. Show that you can build products. Show that you can get users on your own. This is a great way to show your value right off the bat. Build a website. Integrate against an API. Show that you are a self-starter and that you can take direction, but at the same time that you're willing to go out and create your own direction, because there is a lot of ambiguity in product management. We know that there's problems, but we don't always know how to solve them. And as part of my whole glue analogy, you will need to look into your network at work and perhaps outside of work to try to solve some of these problems that your company is going to be facing, to solve the problems that your customers are facing. You can't be an expert on everything. So the skill of being personable, being open to new ideas will be very important for you to get into product management. Another area, and I'm not going to say this is the best route to get a job in product management, is to take courses on product management. It can't hurt, right? In 15, 10, 20 years ago, to the best of my knowledge, there were not any real product management courses out there. There's project management that's been around for a long time, but there were not product management courses. Now there's product management, chief product officer, executive programs, I think at Harvard and Columbia and Stanford that cost $200,000 or whatever. I don't know. I haven't applied and I'm not sure, but those, the places where I've seen ads pop up make it seem like they're pretty expensive. But even if you have a fancy title from one of these places, having real life work experience, in my opinion, is going to be more important. I would rather hire a person who has worked at a startup for the last 5 years than a person who has been in an MBA program for the last 2 or 3 years. Because the person who's worked at a startup for 5 years is just going to know more. They're going to know more about managing teams. They're going to know more about, they might not know the case study, but that's okay because they've actually done the work, the real work, the in real person work. Totally my opinion. I don't have an MBA. Maybe I'd think differently if I did, but that's just my opinion. So you can also take courses around things that are not product per se, but to up-level your skills. I've done it. So take an intro to SQL course for a weekend or a day or a week or two. Do it online if you can't do it in person. If you want to learn about design, there's YouTube videos for free. There's Khan Academy. If you want to learn about data analysis, go for it. If you want to learn about coding, do it. These are all skills that folks will admire you for being the person that can bring it to the product team, because there's two areas of product management. Well, two areas, there's a million, but There's technical product managers and there's non-technical product managers. And most product managers, I would say, and again, this is just based on my experience working at a bunch of places, most PMs are non-technical, which means that they have more soft skills. Not that technical people don't, but the people with the technical PM background, meaning they come from some sort of analytical engineering background, tend, in my opinion, to have a little bit of an easier time getting roles because they already have some of those skills that you would have to find from other teams. So if you're doing hiring, you're kind of getting 2 for 1. You're getting the person that can code and do product, or that can understand what an API is, then who does not. So if you're going to go spend money on someone, would you want the person who has these skills? So give yourself these skills as part of your timing for getting prepared to become a product manager. And think of all the different ways that you can get involved with startups. Because startups by nature don't have a lot of cash. However, nowadays everyone's raising a lot of cash. They have been over the last long time. But that doesn't mean that there's not startups out there that would love to have you. They might not be able to afford very much, but you need to be willing to put in the effort and the time to get your foot in the door. This isn't like Devil Wears Prada where, you get paid nothing. But anyway, you're also not going to be making the big bucks. But nowadays, some places are, I think, paying very decently if you're a product management intern or associate PM. Associate PM is making $100,000, $150,000, getting stock options. So you could also make a lot of money potentially. Anyway, the more skills you up-level yourself with, the easier your experience will be. The more outgoing you are, the easier it will be. The more people you reach out to, the more people you ask for mentorship, the better you will be in terms of getting your foot in the door for product. Which kind of takes me next to what is a product management person who focuses on payments and or subscriptions. It could get a little bit loaded here. There are nuances between the two. The way that I look at a payments PM is payments, in my opinion, is very centered around payment methods. So what kind of payment methods do you accept as a merchant and that your customers want and need? There is the other side of it, which is how well do your payments operate? So as a payments PM, it's not enough for me to care about what type of payments we take or how we pay people out through disbursements or the channels that we take payments. So is that through web experiences? Is that retail? Is that a point of sale terminal? Is that through call centers? But then there is the operational performance. So how well are customers able to enroll? How well do we get captures? What do our settlement files look like? What are the charges that we are being billed by our processor? Who is our processor? What type of processors should we be looking at? Do we have chargebacks? How bad are our chargebacks? Should they be lower? These type of things are what I, as a PM, worry about from a payments perspective all the time. Another area, if you go into the subscription space, is how are we billing customers? How often do we bill customers? What kind of tiers of billing do we have? Do we have different frequencies that we allow customers to be billed? 1 month, annual, every 6 months, different ways. Maybe it's 24 hours. How do we think about tiers? Do we have tiers? Do we have upgrade paths? Do we have downgrade paths? Subscriptions can get pretty interesting. Do we have dunning? As a PM, those are other things that I'm worried about. And of course, all of that ties back to data. So having that analytical background as you're going into your product management career is really important, because you want to understand, well, if we offer different tiers, which tiers is the most popular? Which one is the least popular? Do we need to add a new tier? Do we need to get rid of a tier? What about our pricing? Pricing is a huge, huge, huge field out there. Are we charging enough? Could we charge more? How are we testing into finding out all of this? So if you're great at running tests, A/B tests, then I think product could be a really great spot for you, especially as you're looking at subscriptions. Another aspect of subscriptions that keeps me up at night is churn. What is our involuntary churn? What is our voluntary churn? How are people quitting? Why are they quitting? Can we save customers from quitting? A subscriptions product manager needs to be thinking about all this. What platforms are we on? Are we on enough platforms? Are we on too many? When I was at Crunchyroll, we were on web, but then we went to the Apple store. Then we went to Google. Then we went to Roku. And I think now they're in, I don't know, Samsung TVs or something like that. I'm sure they're in more places than I even know. But that was all part of the expansion of the business. And in order for us to reach our customers by listening to where our customers were and looking at how they were streaming our services, we decided that strategically we needed to get into more places, because those were the places that our customers were. So that meant in order for us to make more money, we needed to support more platforms for our subscription. And we needed to change pricing so that customers in different countries were all paying relatively the same amount. Anyway, getting back to how does this all tie back to being a product manager in payments and subscriptions? Well, if you want to get into payments and or subscriptions monetization aspects of product management and you don't know where to start, I would start by looking at engineering. I would start by looking at your product team. And if there is not already a function that is devoted to payments and subscriptions, and your company takes payments, then there is definitely someone who is monitoring whether or not payments are going through. That could be someone in finance. That could be marketing. I've seen that happen there. There could be a partnerships team involved. You could go talk to someone on the fraud team. There should be someone from design involved. Finance, operations, legal. There's a lot of different folks that are involved with the upkeep and creation of payments, SKUs, as well as subscriptions. So if you're curious who you should reach out to in order to learn more about internal roles in the payments and subscription space, if it's not already listed as such, those are the different teams I would reach out to see who is working on payments and subscriptions. Because in a well-oiled machine, those are the teams you will be working with on the daily basis in order to be a successful business. Next, if you don't have any background in payments or subscriptions, I think there's many resources out there to learn about payments and or subscriptions. I'll just start to use it, just say monetization. So I don't have to keep listing it out every time I'm talking about getting into one of these roles. But I think if you look out there, you look at the Stripes of the world, you have Braintree, you have Stripe, you have Adyen, you have Chase, you have recurring billing program companies like Zora or Recurly or ChargeBee. There's nothing stopping you today from going into the developer docs for any of these companies. It's all publicly accessible, and start reading their API documentation, reading how they work, reading what a webhook does, and learning about how the networks work together. You can start to learn about chargebacks. You can start to learn about all the various nuances of accepting payments, the nuances of supporting subscriptions, and you can become a subject, well, I won't say expert. I think the expert part only comes by doing, but you can read a lot about all of these through publicly available information. YouTube's a great resource as well. There are also many amazing blogs out there where people are talking about how to optimize for authorizations, intercepts, chargebacks, retention, customer lifetime value, average order size. The list goes on. And there's podcasts too. I know of a really great one called the Monetization Matrix. But I kid, there are a lot of resources out there if you're trying to break into payments and subscriptions and you don't have a lot of work or folks that are supportive of it. When I first joined and got really into subscriptions and payments, I was working as a PM. I had just left really being an associate PM. And I was a PM on the platform team at a company. And as part of the platform was that we would support payments across all of our web properties. We would support subscriptions across all of our web properties. And so that was really how I got my first take on payments and subscriptions, was that I was helping helping out with all this. And as I was learning about subscriptions, it was actually really through payments. We had a very low introductory, I think it was $1.99 or $2.99 for 2 weeks, and then $39.99 every 4 weeks thereafter, which led to lots of chargebacks. So one of my first projects was, how do we reduce chargebacks? Then I started to learn about chargebacks and intercepts, which led me to learn about vendors like Verify, Ethica, and learning about how our processor worked and how we processed chargebacks and how chargebacks were created. And by learning about how chargebacks operated and how to mitigate them, I started to learn how payments work. And that was directly correlated to our subscription business. So they were very closely tied. And if I was to do this again, all over again, and I wanted to get into a payments and or subscription monetization related role, I would look for the team that's doing this type of stuff. I would look for the team that's testing out different payment structures. I would look for the team that implemented your checkout. I would look for the team that is doing all that work, and then raise your hand. Hey, I'm super interested. I think payments are really cool. How can I help? Hey, I love subscriptions. I have 1 million of them. I'm a subscription expert. I'm a subscription junkie, and I'm very interested in how we're doing subscriptions. And here's some suggestions. I mean, that's the other part, right? Show your value. So as you're going to the folks at your company or other companies looking for these payment subscription roles, put yourself into the user experience, not as a person that wants to work there, but as a customer. What do I want as a customer that I'm not getting out of this payment experience? What do I want or wish that this company had as a subscription offering that they don't? So when you have these conversations, as you're trying to get a role at one of these companies and be their payments PM, be their payments or subscriptions PM, you're bringing something to the table. Other than wanting a job, you are bringing value immediately because you're showing that 1, you have the skills, 2, you have the tenacity, 3, you have the insights, and you're bringing those insights on day number 1. You're bringing those into the interview process. You're presenting yourself as a lifelong learner. You're presenting yourself as someone who's analytical. And those are the ways that I would present myself and think about myself if I were starting all over again, trying to get a role in payments and or subscriptions. Hope all of this has been helpful. Thank you for listening, and email me if you have questions. Happy to talk. Email me, Kristian@paymentsforpayments.com. And if you want to talk about how to get into payments or subscriptions, or you have questions about product management, reach out. Hope you have a great day. Thanks. Remember to hit that subscribe button and tell all your nerdy friends.